Coming right up, Straight Talk with Art Levine. Our guest tonight, Dr. Craig Smith, Professor of Communication Studies at California State University, Long Beach, as we begin our 22nd anniversary year.
Closed captioning provided by Scan Health Plan. Straight Talk is brought to you in part by the Port of Long Beach, a leader in international trade and environmental stewardship, and the Press Telegram, your local news leader for over 100 years.
Join us for tonight's edition of Straight Talk. And now your host, Art Levine.
Good evening and welcome to the first show of our 22nd anniversary season. We're delighted to have as our guest for the entire show our friend Craig Smith, who's a professor of communication studies at California State University, Long Beach. Craig, welcome back to our show.
It's good to be back, Art.
Craig is a regular guest here, and he in fact has a guest column in the newest issue of the Straight Talk magazine, and the title of Craig's column is Eroding the Quality of Higher Education. Let me point out that Craig is not only a professor here for many, many years, he's also a former member of the Board of Trustees of the CSU system. So he has a very qualified vantage point on which to comment. Why do you feel the quality is being eroded?
Well, you know, I've taught here at Cal State Long Beach since 1988, and I can see the difference in my students over time. More and more of them have writing problems. More and more of them need remediation. Part of the problem is with the K through 12 system that's not preparing them. Why are we graduating students with A's and B's, and then they come into the CSU system and half of them have to take some form of remediation? That problem is a big one because we're then taking teachers away from better students and putting them into remediation classes. And we're putting resources into those classes, and those classes are occupied so that we can't teach regular courses there. And that's part of the erosion of higher education.
Let me interrupt for a second. We had 88,000 applications last year for 6,000 places. Everyone wants to come to the beach. It's harder to get in here than UCLA. I'm not saying it's a better school, but statistically it's hard. Everyone wants to come here. Presumably we've admitted the students with the highest qualifications, except for some geographical preferences. And so the 6,000 we admitted have these problems. And what about the 82,000 that we didn't admit? A fortiori.
Yeah, it's very difficult to figure this out. First of all, we have to give a little bit of preferential treatment to those students who are in the Long Beach service area. So they do not meet the same standards.
It's the college promise, you're guaranteed a spot if you have certain minimum.
That's right. So those students come in at one level. Then we have the students outside of the area, and they're coming in at a higher level. They're coming in at a UC qualification level according to their high school transcripts. But then when they get into the classroom and we start testing them here, they don't pass those tests. And so obviously there's grade inflation at the high school level that's tricking the system.
So your comments about K-12 are not directed specifically at the Long Beach Unified System, but at K-12 well over the state.
That's correct. And in fact, I think Long Beach Unified is one of the better districts in the country. It's won a number of awards. And so that kind of brings it a little bit more together. But there are lots of stories about students who are getting into the UC system with straight A's and then being put on academic probation. So there's something wrong at that level.
How do we fix it?
First, harder grading. And then I think the CSU, since I was on the Board of Trustees, the CSU has been working with the state to come up with a way that they are teaching English and math that we are measuring. Obviously, if we're needing to remediate these students, they're not teaching what we're testing for. And so there needs to be an adjustment in the curriculum. And we've worked with the state on that, and we're trying to solve that problem.
In your column in our magazine, you refer, and this is now focusing on higher education, to the diminution in standards caused in part by affirmative action. Address that.
Well, I think that's another problem. When John Kennedy first announced that he was going to push for affirmative action, He said that what he meant by that was, all things being equal, preference would be given to the underrepresented minority. I think that's a good program. He was assassinated. The Civil Rights Act was passed in his name by Lyndon Johnson. And then over time, it morphed. Affirmative action became, we can add underqualified students to our campus in order to promote diversity. And that's a very different thing. And I don't think it serves those students well, and it doesn't serve higher education well.
And you're particularly concerned with where we're going now with online education. You support supplementing in-class teaching with online education, but you're very concerned with MOOCs, which I had never heard of before, massive open course online courses.
Right. I'm a big user of digital enhancement in the classroom. It's wonderful when I teach a public speaking course that I can call up a speech by Martin Luther King Jr. In front of the Lincoln Memorial and play it for the class and talk about it and why it's so good and why it's so important. But going all the way over to mass online open classes is very dangerous. And I can see that some administrators are looking at economies of scale where they're going to say, you know, we're going to pick the best lecturer in America for American history. We'll pay that professor a royalty for each student that sits in on this open online class. Then we'll give the tests locally. We'll have somebody administer the tests. It doesn't cost as much. And that's the way the class will run. And we'll get rid of a whole bunch of professors and save a lot of money. And we'll free up classrooms.
The economies of scale are so massive, though, with the continued reduction in state funding for higher education, you almost have a feeling of inevitability that online education is coming, and slowly, or maybe not so slowly, it will replace in-class teaching.
It hasn't gone so well. They tried it. There was a 9-university consortium headed by Duke University, very prominent university. They tried it. They ran the tests. They found out that the attrition rate in the classes, the online classes, was huge, that the students weren't doing very well in them, and Duke pulled out of the program. We tried it with San Jose State and Udacity, a for-profit university. They pulled the plug on it 6 months out. So obviously they're moving too fast and it's not working.
Well, we'll stay tuned to see what the future brings. We know in the next segment, Craig and I will be dialoguing about the local political scene, and then in the last segment, we'll be talking about the federal political situation with particular reference to Syria. Stay with us.
At the Port of Long Beach, we're not only delivering jobs, smart ideas, and forward-thinking environmental initiatives, we're also delivering opportunity for all of Southern California. Oh, and a clearer horizon line. To learn more, go to POLB.com, the Port of Long Beach, thinking outside the docks.
Hello, I'm Jessica Hardy, a proud Long Beach native and a member of the USA Swimming national team. Having spent much of my life in water, I've developed a deep appreciation for the valuable role that this precious resource plays in our lives. In recent years, California's water supply has become unreliable. To address this reality, Long Beach residents have dramatically reduced their water use through permanent lifestyle changes. In doing so, Long Beach has made itself a leader in water conservation. As I work hard to achieve my personal goal of qualifying for the 2012 Summer Olympics, I encourage you to continue your tremendous efforts to use water in smart and responsible ways. So join me and your fellow Long Beach residents in strengthening the water conservation movement. By making small but significant changes in our water use habits, together we can ensure that we have a reliable water supply for many generations to come.
At Performance Plus Tire, you'll find we carry Toyo tires. For over 50 years, Toyo has been a world leader in the development of high-quality tires. Optimum performance, safety, and a comfortable ride. That's what makes Toyo tires great. And now come into Performance Plus Tire for a great deal on these Toyo tires. Proxys ST, Open Country AT, and Proxys 4. Toyo tires, driven to perform. Come in today and we'll install new Toyo tires on your vehicle while you wait. Performance Plus Tire on Cherry Avenue, 1 mile north of the 405 in Long Beach.